welcome to Elbows on the Table, the inaugural named podcast by Foxtail Media. And as a fitting first guest, my mom, Allison Gregory. Allison Paige Gregory.
Yeah. To be exact.
Yeah, to be exact.
Get them all in there.
So, let's jump right in. The first kind of thing that, we had a long conversation about what we wanted to have a conversation about.
And then we forgot.
Yeah,
so
and then we forgot.
So
and
now that we're here, we don't kind of remember.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think, the things that we kind of stumbled upon that were, shared experiences in adulthood and, things that we wanted to just unpack together that in kind of many ways we never really have, is I think let's start with dating as a single parent. I think that's juicy and a good way to kind of kick it off. We both became single parents with our child at the same age. Paige was 3, I was 3. And so what was that like for you?
Is that apple doesn't fall far from the tree?
I think that's being a really nice way of saying, just recreating your own trauma is a more accurate way of saying that.
Yeah, and that this time living it out is going to be less traumatic.
Yeah, so it was for sure more traumatic.
Yeah.
Actually, that's not true. It was actually way less traumatic.
The first time around?
No, the second time around. Because you're an adult and have the skills to cope with that stuff, right?
Right, yeah. We would have to check that out with Paige to 100%. Get the full picture.
God bless. Anyhow, so I think, just talk about what that was like kind of early on, with a toddler, and then how that changed as I got older and as you got older, because you were how old? You were how old when you had me? 33?
Yes.
Right?
Yes. So
you were 2 years older, or no, 1 year older than I was when I had Paige.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, ballpark the same.
Yeah, general area.
Yeah. So what was it like early on, when you were first kind of saying, okay, I'm going to put myself back out there. I'm going to, what were your boundaries? What were you looking to experience? What were your okay, I'm not I'm not going to bring this person into my normal life. It's going to be separate worlds. Because, what was your thought process with all that stuff?
Yeah, I think I was probably not as sophisticated in thinking about those things certainly as I am now, but as you have been with your going through it.
I think I'll give myself credit for that for the past 1.5 or 2 years, although certainly early on my level of sophistication left a lot to be desired.
Very low. No, but I mean in general.
Yeah.
In general, I mean it was certainly a learning curve.
Mm-hmm.
I think I erred in both directions, doing the thing of, and this is, what the experts now say you're not supposed to do. Don't say, oh, I just want you to meet this, important.
Yeah.
I have somebody that's important to me, and I want you to meet him. Don't do that.
Don't build it up.
Don't set it up like that. Just this is Joe.
This is a friend.
Period.
Yeah.
Hey, this is Joe, and we're gonna go get a burger. Keep it simple.
Joe's Burger Stand.
Joe.
Is that a euphemism?
Yeah. So I probably erred in, this is so-and-so and he's important and blah, 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 blah. But then I think I really tried really hard to not involve people.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you can correct me, but I think I did a fairly good job to not have a revolving door of people. I think
I totally got that in other areas of my life, so I'm super glad I didn't get it from you.
Okay, good.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, I think that I was, which I'm sure probably negatively affected my mobility in the re-engaging in the dating life and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So what we did not have was your my single parenting was 24/7 single parenting.
Yeah.
You have a different situation.
100%.
Yeah. So except for some years there where there was
Some co-parenting.
some co-parenting,
Yeah.
which in some ways was easier, in some ways harder
Totally.
to navigate. So in some ways, 24/7 single parenting is less complicated. You know what you're planning around, but yeah. So I think it took me a
I think
while.
that's contingent on who your co-parent is and how you communicate with them.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, and you guys have, you guys are doing a wonderful job.
Just amazing situation with that.
Yeah.
It certainly didn't start that way, but it got there.
Yeah. And it's and that's how it happens. It's a progression.
Sure.
It's a
Yeah.
work in progress.
Totally.
But,
So then,
so it was hard. So I tried very hard to shield you from engaging in different people.
did you ever feel like? I mean, I'm sure you did, but were you ever at points where like, man, like I just need like a week away, or I just like, man, I just need an escape. Did you have that feeling pretty frequently?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And for a variety of reasons, and you'll remember this, when we were living in the house that I currently live in and that you grew up in, we briefly moved out of it, and rented that house, and then moved back in because I felt like that was sort of a better long-range plan. But for financial reasons, we had roommates, so they were helping financially.
Yeah.
But also there were other humans around
Totally.
to help kind of give me a breather,
Yeah.
parenting wise. And then along about that time, Grandma and Grandpa moved to
Yeah.
Santa Fe, so they were a real,
Sure.
they were a real help when I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to
Yeah, I'm gonna lose my shit.
I'm gonna lose my shit.
Yeah.
You could spend a weekend with them or whatever. So they were a great support.
Totally. Yeah, I can relate to that. I mean, I think what you said is very accurate. On my end, I'm the weekend parent, right? So, that comes with its own challenges, right? Because like you want to be fun, but at the same time you have to parent, and you want all the time to be special and unique, but at the same time everything can't be
Disneyland Dad.
Yeah.
You can't be that.
It can't be that.
It tends to be that. But,
Yeah.
but you really need to be.
There needs to be like some regularity and consistency, and just like things that you do that have continuity between both experiences for the kid, right?
Yeah.
For the child. That to me, like understanding that, I think so much of that too is driven initially by guilt. And so you just want to you feel so guilty about the fact that you broke up a family that you want to make every moment this
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's just so amazing, and then you realize that that's actually you just imposing your own stuff, and it's actually has nothing to do with the actual best interest of your child.
Yeah.
Right.
So how do you think? Here's a question.
Sure.
How do you think the divorce and / single and parenting on your own, having to carve out what parenting is by yourself without a mom figure around?
Well, I mean, when I had him, but sure.
Yeah. How has that made you? How's that affected you? How's that made you a better person in the broader part of your life, or not a better person?
It has forced accountability that I kept trying to avoid. I kept trying to, be like, I have to work, I have to do this, or I have these other priorities. Well, when you have no escape from that or reason to say hey,
I can't do that.
I can't do it, or I can't show up, when, you physically have no other choice, then you're in that space.
You've got to show up.
And then, geez, calm down.
Yeah.
then you're there, and then you emotionally have to get there, right?
Yeah. So you have to tell that to yourself.
And well, it's not a matter of telling it to yourself; it just happens.
Yeah.
You know, and so, or it doesn't, right?
Yeah, but I mean, that's the inner. What I'm saying is that's the inner dialogue going. I have to show up, no matter what. That's your inner dialogue.
I wouldn't even call it an inner dialogue, honestly. It wasn't something that I was thinking or conscious of. It simply was just like, okay, I kind of like stopped and paused one day, and I was like, I'm a different parent than I was 6 months ago. Whoa, that's crazy.
And it's been interesting to observe that.
Yeah.
You are. Yeah.
Totally.
And I saw that initially, it's funny when you were talking, I remember a long time there where you were like not so great with setting boundaries, and you know, he was pretty much running the show, and that's changed, which is good, and that it's better for everybody.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's totally better. I never thought that I would be the strict parent, but I'm totally the strict parent, which is fine. You know,
that's okay.
You know, I don't really have a temper. I mean, anymore. You know, I can get annoyed and use sharp language, but I don't like scream and yell and
you don't.
know,
yeah.
and do stuff like that. You know, and so I think, and I've worked on being able to do my best at communicating with him in a way that is, you know, digestible and like from a place of love. You know.
So, when did cooking for you, like, earliest enter your life? And you know, like the last time I was here, I made scrambled eggs with little Paige, and made me start to think about kind of when that really formally interests entered your life. I was not cooking hardly any other than, you know, the classic frozen manicotti and peas.
Yeah, right. I mean, I think I was around 7 when it was like a cool. I have tangible interest in this. You know,
because like what?
Because I watched Julia Childs, and you know, just like sitting there and like scrolling through the 5 TV channels that we had, you know, at that point, because that's what the world was.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, this holds my attention for whatever reason. I can't speak to why that was, you know.
Yeah.
You know, this weird lady with a weird voice, I guess, you know.
Yeah. And
so, you know, that was really it. And then, you know, had people kind of guide me through that along the way, but you know, that was that. So I think, what do you think was the biggest impact on, for you as a person, right? As a person in the world, how did being a single parent shape you as a person?
Oh gosh, I think it helps. It makes you a really good multitasker. You know, I have this dialogue with David all the time. I'm like, I tend to like get like about 10 things rolling at the same time, and I have a certain comfort level in doing that. Like I really like that. Sort of the one thing feeds on the next thing, and you know, so it's, you know.
I can relate to that.
Energetically, I really like it, and it's an opportunity to hyper focus, which has been good for most of my career choices. Probably as a psychotherapist, multitasking is not so good. You kind of need to be there. And
super not great.
Yeah, like, although, you know.
Good as a florist, though.
Huh?
Good as a florist, though.
Well, and, you know, doing visual presentations and, you know, that kind of thing, you know, being able to hold you know, it was helpful in a lot of different things, a lot of different areas. So, so multitasking, patience, certainly. And I don't know, makes you grow up, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Real quick. Next level.
I think what it did for me is it forced me to reconcile what my actual priorities were, and then trim I found it most helpful in it like forced me to set boundaries into the stop doing things that didn't actually benefit me, right? For like weird reasons, right?
For example,
just like I might stop engaging in relationships, be they professional or personal, that like aren't actually serving me, right? That are driven by insecurity or ego or whatever, but aren't actually serving my inherent well-being, right?
do you think that you erred in the area of over-involving him with people early on that maybe you...
No, definitely not.
So do you feel like you kept
I mean,
boundaries?
He still never met someone I dated.
Right.
So
yeah.
Probably pretty good boundaries.
Yeah. Good.
TBD on that. We'll see. Yeah, I don't think that period was where I struggled because I on some level knew that like that wasn't even close to happening yet. And the one time where it got close to happening, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
And so that was fine.
Yeah.
That was never really a real sore spot of like mismanagement or anything like that. I think where I made the most mistakes was prioritization of time early on, where I would get, I didn't understand like how I needed to like organize my priorities as far as like having him first all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would get so caught up like in relationships or new romance, and then that compounded with my obsessive nature with work,
mm-hmm.
that early on he definitely got shortchanged before I like really like saw the level of accountability that was needed, right? It's like, okay, these are the non-negotiable things, right? But first, in order to have things be non-negotiable, you kind of have to understand a way to set up your life that will allow them to be non-negotiable.
Mm-hmm.
And so like just kind of clearing out a lot of that, like just debris,
making space
for that, and then saying, okay, like this is what I'm gonna, because it had always been work, and then I built everything else around that, right? And so then those things just kind of, as work swelled, everything else just kind of got tossed off into different corners, right? Well, if he's the priority, then I mean, this week is a great example, right? Like everything, like it's about spending time with him, it's about being present for him. Everything else can kind of just take a back seat,
Mm-hmm.
and so and it has,
Mm-hmm.
and I've set my life up to be successful in that way.
You really have.
Which has taken I not to pat myself on the back, but in the food and beverage industry, to be able to make a good living and to be creatively and financially satisfied, and
be able to be present for him.
Also like not have a set schedule that's dictated by someone else or by like a business.
Mm-hmm.
And to have him be the center of that has taken a lot of work.
Also, let me point out, your priorities are what you're creating here,
Mm-hmm.
both narrowly with, Foxtail and various things, and your other food endeavors,
Business ventures.
business ventures.
Mm-hmm.
And, your life really consists of three things: that, page,
Mm-hmm.
exercise,
Mm-hmm.
and the thing you've cut out. Can you think of what it is?
I mean, there's a lot of things that cut out.
The main thing.
Actually, no.
You don't have a person in your life.
Oh, romance?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
When we're talking about large chunks of time,
Oh, yeah, sure.
and
No, that...
and
but
emotional energy,
Yeah, no, that-
and
that for sure has been part of it. I mean, something that...
because if you had that going on,
it'd be too much. Well, I mean, something that I realized, and I didn't realize it, one of my previous relationships shined a big bright light on it when we broke up. I mean, which is to say, like, I needed to get my professional life like moving in the direction that I wanted it to be in and under my control before I was ever going to be, available in a relationship in any kind of tangible, real way. And like that was hard to hear because I was like, because I didn't want to understand that I wasn't in control of that stuff,
because your ego wouldn't let
exactly,
you get there.
Exactly, and that I kept making choices where I was like having this transaction of like giving up my freedom for like a bigger and bigger paycheck. And then I realized, like, you know, that's the one thing I won't give up, is I won't be beholden to someone else's expectations. I set the expectations. You know, it's the ball's always in my court in that regard, and I set my own schedule, you know, and as long as I've been able to maintain that, the rest has been really easy to piece together, right, and to manage. But that fundamental thing of if I overextend myself with someone else's expectations, it's disaster for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do we,
I have to say no a lot.
yeah.
You know,
yeah.
like
That's a boundary. That's
yeah.
a boundary with yourself.
Like, well, and it's understanding. You know, I mean, I there have been a lot of, I mean, situations I'll find myself in meetings, and you know, people, you know, trying to work with me, and you know, I'll like very quickly realize I was like, it's not a fit, you know, because they're wanting an employee and not a collaborator, right? And that's not me, you know? And I have to realize that and say, hey, great conversation, good talk.
That's either reset it or...
Well, I think that if someone inherently just wants someone that's going to say yes to their ideas, I'm inherently the wrong person for that.
Yeah.
It's just not my strength, you know? I'm always going to have an opinion.
Yeah.
And I'm also willing to admit when I'm wrong or when there's a better idea in the room. But I don't often find that is a frequent occurrence. It certainly happens with like a degree of regularity, but it's not all the time, you know, because I put myself in situations where I'm working in my strengths, and so I'm bringing really, you know, well-considered, I guess, options and opinions that I have a lot of experience and depth in. Mm-hmm. You know, if I'm out of my depth, then I am. Hey, what's up, buddy? Yes? Can I help you? Okay.
Just so, what other topics?
Oh God, what else did we want to discuss? I got a good question for you that's kind of very relevant to me right now. When did you find yourself really able to like move past that kind of like inherent like kind of trauma and growth period, and then like being really uncomfortable and like settling into a new you, and then open back up to be like truly available to a person as a partner to like actually find love again?
That's a great question.
How long did that take for you?
I think a long time. I think I found myself in years worth of relationships. Well, let's see. David and I met when you were 10.
10. Yeah.
Your father and I
3.
split when you were 3.
7 years.
So, there's your answer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it could have been,
I you know, there was...
like, do you think that you had, I mean, a relationship in between those two times where you were genuinely open with the other person and like felt love, or do you think it was just part of the healing process until you met David?
I think...
For the listeners out there, David's my stepdad and her current husband.
Yeah.
Lucky number 3.
Lucky number 3.
The marriage totals of my parents a staggering number.
I'm hoping you don't have that you don't do a number, you know.
I'm already behind both you guys. I'm already so far behind both you guys.
That's good.
You know.
That's good.
I feel pretty good about my chances.
Yeah. No, there were meaningful relationships, but you know, when it came to thinking about really embracing a person into the whole fullness of my life, and mine and theirs, and that included you and all that kind of stuff. I think that, you know,
didn't happen until David.
Yeah, I was didn't happen until that happened. Yeah. So.
Well, there's a certain amount of, you know, requisite compatibility there, and.
Yeah, and then that brought up, you know, and I wonder if you ever think about that. Which reminds me, there was a point in our relationship. It was I was still barely young enough to consider whether I would want to have more children.
I do remember that.
And
there was like a period where you guys were like considering it, right?
yeah, a little while where
Yeah.
we were considering that. He
Yeah.
has his 2 daughters,
Yeah.
and you, and I think that
I think you made the right decision.
I think I do really feel like we
Yeah.
made the right decision. There's always some bit of nostalgic regret
Sure.
about what could have, what that could have been.
Yeah.
I miss, what that could have
I think
been, but
that I was such a problematic teenager that you guys needed all your bandwidth to make sure I didn't.
we needed all our bandwidth,
Light the
plus the
world on fire.
bandwidth of anybody we could
enlist.
borrow.
Yeah,
I
totally.
mean, you were
No.
not an easy,
Yeah, I mean, I gave you 10 years of hell.
yeah,
Yeah,
solid.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like 14 to 24.
Yeah,
It was like
totally.
a disaster.
Shoot me.
Yeah. God bless you guys. I mean, it's not funny, so that's not the right word.
It's not funny.
But I think.
And David was the steady rudder. Was so
Mommy.
much of that.
Yeah, I didn't really. I mean, obviously, alcoholism and drug addiction were a huge driving force for me during that time. And so, on the other end of that, you look back at it and you're just like, and I really look at my history and I'm like, God, like 10 years of just like that.
It was super awful.
Exhausting.
Exhausting.
Yeah.
Awful. Yeah. It's a real drag to not like your child.
Yeah. That's something that I think.
And I loved you
Yeah.
during that, but I did not like you.
Yeah. No, I get it, and I mean for good reason.
Yeah.
I mean the problem with that stuff is that you're never able to see the forest for the trees.
Right.
You're so in it.
So in it.
You're so in it, and you think that you have no concept of how negatively just the simple decision of like maybe I got too messed up one night and like didn't show up for a scheduled like lunch or something like that, right? Like the simplest flake out, how like what a tailspin that can create in a parent's life.
Yeah.
Because the way that your mind goes like, oh, this, that, or the other, and then okay, like, well, he's doing this, which means he's doing that, which means he's doing that, and it's just the places that your mind and heart end up in are just awful.
We jumped into that, and I want to come back to it, but I was interested in your thoughts on, do you think about having other children? And
I have thought about it.
And I mean, you sort of, for the most part, grew up as an only child. You have sisters that, have enriched
I call them sisters.
Yeah, have enriched your life.
Yeah. I mean,
but
I think
you have an experience of both a little bit to draw from.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
I don't think that one is more valid than the other. I think that, more than anything, I think if I were to end up with a person who really wanted, to have kids, I'd totally be open to it. And if I ended up with a person who didn't want kids, I'd totally be open to it.
But I'm not asking about what others. I'm talking about what you.
To me, there's not a strong want on either side of it. It's not a I really want this or I really don't want this. I think situationally there are pros and cons to both. I think that if I were to do that again, like the understanding of the infrastructure that needs to be in your life to successfully have a child for the first 3 years is something that's wildly undercommunicated.
But you know
and like
what?
everybody polishes it up and says, oh, like childbirth and
It's
pregnancy and it's amazing.
fantastic.
It fucking sucks.
Yeah, but
Okay?
also
Like the
people
person-
try to tell you. I just want to say, people do try to tell you that it's really hard. Know what you're, but you can't tell people. They have to live it. You cannot tell somebody that experience.
Hard is a broad term that doesn't inform anybody's reality. A lot of things are hard and people choose to do them anyway. Running a marathon's hard. People sign up for it all the time, A lot of things are hard, right? I don't think hard is the right word to describe the first, I would say, 3 years of having a child. Let's include pregnancy in that, right? So 9 months to 2 years old, right? What people don't tell you is the details, right? the fact that you're not going to sleep for 3 years. Really, you'll have a night here and there, but you won't get consistently a good night's sleep. You won't get 8 hours of sleep for 3 years.
Yeah.
The cumulative effect that has on every single human's mind and body is devastating, And then what that can do to slowly wear and tear down at every other aspect of life and create tension between everything.
I just thought of one of the hardest things for me when we were talking about like being a single parent. Like to figure out how to exercise. Like how do you go for a run when your 3-year-old is taking a nap for 3 hours and you might jump out of your skin if you don't go for a run. Or you figure out how to run around the house 200 times.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's resources, right? I mean, what I've done is sought out fitness environments that allow me to have him be part of them. Right. That's been really helpful.
Which I did with you. You went to El Gancho.
Exactly. And
grew up in a gym.
These two separate parts of my life have to be in the same space. They have to be able to coexist. And I mean, I think something that you and I both relate to is that we have to put a certain amount of ourselves first so that we can show up for our kids.
Completely.
I think if you wear yourself thin and just always put yourself second, then you'll actually end up putting everybody else second in the long run.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is a hard thing to say as a parent.
But I hope maybe
important.
that was. I hope maybe I patterned that for you a little bit. Sort of showed you that a little bit.
I'm sure on
the
some
fitness
level.
thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I mean, both you and my dad have just been obviously always really athletic people. That was never something that wasn't going to be a huge part of my life. You know, in a lot of different ways. I mean.
So we were going to talk about tattoos. I remember that.
Yeah, tattoos. So something you've always hated my tattoos.
I grew to like
some of them.
Some of them.
Yeah.
Yes. I grew to like this one initially, and I think a couple of the text ones.
Yeah.
And I like your New Mexico. I like this one.
Yeah.
That's.
You don't like the cockroach?
I can't stand the cockroach and the hand tattoos. I mean, like the finger things and. Yeah, it's been a real challenge for me, and we have gone around and around and around, and have probably consistently count on our biggest.
There's an annual fight.
Yeah,
for sure.
Oh my God, you got another tattoo.
What's so funny about that is that half the time you say, "Oh my God, I got another tattoo," it's actually a tattoo that is not new and we've already had a fight about.
Yeah.
Which is great.
But
it's
I forgot.
We're doing this again?
Yeah.
Can we at least have a fight about a new tattoo?
Yeah, no. Yeah. It's just, you know what it is? It's a combination of things, and
it's your generation's rock and roll. Just like your parents were like, this rock and roll and reefer.
No. Yeah.
You're that now. It's totally that.
No. It's like, it's a trendy thing that you are doing a permanent. This is a permanent thing that is in style now, but it's permanent. And is it going to be in style in 30 years? Most likely not. It's
so much older than that, and the history of it is so much older than that, and spans the globe in such a more prolific way than that, and it will be around hundreds and hundreds of years from now.
Well, I know tattooing has
deeply embedded in a lot of cultures.
I know it is. I'm just talking about in our world now.
It is not stylistic. It is expressive. Okay. Now, the way that some people choose to have it done to them is totally stylistic and does not have substance. And that's their reality they choose to live. That's not my reality.
Right.
And that's where we fundamentally disagree.
Yeah.
Is that it's a creative expression for me. Yes, it's permanent. The discussion on whether it's permanent or not is like a really dumb conversation to have because it's there. So like I don't know why we're litigating the fact that it's permanent. Really? Yes, I know.
Hey, Dad.
What's up, dude?
I'm done with my crackers.
Okay. Do you want something else?
Yes, please.
What do you want?
He has some of his drink left.
Okay, you can have a cupcake. Cupcake time. Cupcake break.
Do we have cupcakes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He made
How
cupcakes.
come-
He made 4th of July cupcakes for everybody.
He made them
Mm-hmm.
at his mom's?
Mm-hmm.
How cool is that?
Yeah. So if you want a cupcake, you guys want a cupcake?
Yeah, tattoos. So yeah, that's been a hard one.
Full circle, we're getting a tattoo together.
Yeah, we will. Not now, but when it's.
I actually got a tattoo gun. It's going to be my first tattoo. I'm going to give it to both of us.
You what?
Oh,
There you go.
I thought I said.
A cupcake?
I said a cupcake.
That's a cupcake. There you go.
Are you sure?
Mm-hmm. It's one of the ones you made. With you.
I wanted to.
All right. Great. There we go. We're all cupcaked out.
A cupcake
So yeah, tattoos. We're going to get a tattoo together.
at some juncture. Not this visit.
I mean, probably next visit.
Maybe next visit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I'm gonna.
Are you going to be a big wuss about it?
No. You know, I'm like,
Are you going to get some text, a design? What do you think?
I don't know. I have to, like, a meaningful thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where?
Yeah. I love those the best.
Yeah, totally.
Really?
I mean, a friend of mine, she's an interior designer. She started getting tattoos with her mom around the same age.
Yeah.
And it's the thing they do together now.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I have to think about it. I like those ones down here. Those are kind of
Yeah,
nice.
the foot could work.
The foot could work.
Yeah.
And you can always put like a little Band-Aid over it if you're like going to meet the Queen or something.
It would have happened by now.
Yeah. That's what I worry. Like, what will you do when you meet the Queen?
Yeah.
What will she think of your hands?
I think that we live in I mean, you see now major, like, ad campaigns with tattooed people now. It's a thing that is not really even counterculture anymore. It's
Go ahead.
It's just a form of, it's something that's broadly accepted now.
Yeah.
It used to be counterculture. Even 10 years ago, it was a lot more counterculture than it is now. I think it's really broken through in a mainstream way.
But also, in Austin, living in Austin, you have you're in your own bubble here. You have.
I mean, sure. I think every major city is the same bubble as Austin. I don't think Austin's any more tattooed than LA, New York, or Chicago.
Correct, but I'm just saying.
Or Fort Lauderdale.
It's it's different than sort of other places in
Topeka? Yeah, totally.
in the country. There's
Sure. Yeah. I
there's-
mean, I think something I realize is that, that's who I am. And, there's a certain amount of people that it's not for them. That's okay. But if you're going to not, like, accept what someone has to say based on the fact that they have, like, tattoos on their body, that's a really narrow-minded way of thinking. That is.
They make evening length gloves that you can, when you meet the Queen, that you can
Right.
have little buttons up here, and you can have some evening length gloves.
Maybe I'll just get those gloves actually tattooed. I'll get like glove cover-up. So for all this, that'll be what I'll do.
Yeah.
Just to really troll you. God, that was terrible. Anything else you want to cover?
I can't think of anything. I mean, I'm sure there's stuff. I mean,
We'll do another one of these.
yeah.
Yeah, we'll do
Are we doing good on time? Are we almost there?
We're at our mark.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
So this has been fun.
Good.
Thanks.
Good first podcast.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. Thanks for
course.
inviting me on your first podcast.
Yeah, totally.
And good.
Elbows on the table. Your elbows are, in fact, on the table.
They are. They
Yeah.
all of ours are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So perfect name.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, it's been fun. It's been real. Thanks, y'all, for tuning in to Elbows on the Table with Foxtail Media, and over and out.